The Cubs sweep the Padres with an exclamation point at the end. I'm David Butler, and this is Clark and Addison, born into the Ivy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review along with a comment or two on YouTube and or any audio platform. What an incredible series and an incredible sweep. San Diego Padres review. On Monday night, the Cubs won 3-2. Shota battled. He didn't have his best stuff, really, but he battled well. And the bullpen was exceptional with Gavin Hollowell, Caleb Thielbar, and Trent Thornton ending it. The Cubs eked out a win in a game where the offense did not perform the way they should and the way they did the rest of the series, frankly. They had 10 hits and 4 walks and only got 3 runs. But a win is a win, and it counts. Tuesday night, game 2, the Cubs win 9-7. The final sounds a whole lot closer than what it was, but it was what it was, and they had to get a save. Tyler Ferguson helped take care of that. Matthew Boyd, I know he gave up 3 runs in 5 innings, but this was on a night that the wind was blowing out big time. The Cubs hit 5 home runs. The Padres hit a few. And just not a great pitching atmosphere, right? So I thought Boyd did pretty well overall in this situation. Javier Assad came in, had 2 quick innings, and then in the 8th, just kind of imploded, gave up four runs. Tyler Ferguson came in, cleaned that mess up, and it got it to the end where Rollison pitched and got 1 out to get the save and secure the win for the Cubs. Just a really good offensive performance in game 2, but that was really nothing compared to game 3. If you weren't paying attention and haven't seen anything, the Cubs won today. Wow, 23-3. You didn't hear me wrong. 23-3. They won that game. First time the Cubs have scored 23 runs since 1995. And a nice little tidbit here. First time that a starting pitcher has won a game on their birthday since Scott Sanderson did the same thing in 1989. Colin Ray did that today. Fantastic. The Cubs also matched a team record of 8 home runs in a game. They did that last year once too, against the Cardinals, around this time, around July 4th. 3 of them went to Dansby Swanson. The dude had 8 RBIs. And I just shared a tweet that I had seen. He has 26 RBIs in the last 10 games. The list of players who has done that since 1920, when RBIs became an official stat, is 1. Dansby Swanson. That's it. This guy's hitting 210 and just yesterday got above the 200 batting average mark. The Mendoza line for you. That's crazy. And now he has broken a record. I mean, that's a 10-game record. I get it. It's a small sample size. Still pretty cool. 10 games, 26 RBIs. That's insane. That is a ton of RBIs. And it is half of, I think he has 52 now. That's half of his season total. Conforto hit 2. PCA got 1. Seiya Suzuki with his 100th home run in the major leagues. Pretty freaking awesome. And Michael Busch added 1 in the 8th off of catcher Rodolfo Duran, who had started the game as a catcher and pitched the last 2 innings for the Padres because they just sucked. And so the Cubs did get 8 runs off of him. Of those 23, still got 15 off of major league pitchers. Damn. And those 8 runs count, man. I mean, far position players are pitching, and anything that happens, it counts. Pretty freaking awesome series. The Cubs are now 11 games over 500 after this series. I was going to be ecstatic to be 9 games over, to win 2 out of 3, win the series. I'm happy. Move on. We got the Cardinals coming in. We won 2 out of 3 against them. We'll preview that here in a minute. There are 9 more games until the All-Star break. The Cubs sit 5 back of the Milwaukee Brewers, who are right now, when I just looked before I got on here, 2-2 against the Reds. Let's go Cincinnati in that game. And they are 2.5 ahead of the Cardinals, who I have no idea what's happening with that game. Sorry. And a half game up on the Phillies, who are beating the Pirates 8-4 as we speak. So if the Phillies win, it's going to be even. We're going to be sitting even with them, and we'll be 5.5 behind the Brewers if they can win. If not, hopefully they do not, and we'll be 4.5 behind them at the end of tonight. I'm going to talk about trade targets here in a few minutes, but one more day for finalists to be voted as all-star or starters for the All-Star game. Cubs had nobody involved in that, so we're just going to move on. But interesting tidbit that should be announced soon. And then shortly thereafter, you would think that they'll name who else will be All-Stars. I firmly believe that Pete Crow-Armstrong will be involved with that. I don't know if anybody else will be. I'm going to guess no, to be frank. I would have thought Ben Brown would have been, but with his injury, that's kind of out the window. Maybe he will be, and they will just replace him. I don't know exactly. I don't remember how that works, to be frank. Actually, I do know how it works. I know, but was he a starter for long enough of the season for them to do that? I don't know. If he had been a starter the whole season and pitched in the way he did, I would think that it would be a shoo-in, but given the circumstances, I'm not sure. I don't know how that will go, but I think he would be deserving of a nod like that. So, the future games rosters were revealed today as well, and there are 2 Chicago Cub minor league players who will be on the team for the National League Futures team, and that game will be played on Sunday before the All-Star break. I think it's July 12th at noon Eastern as part of the All-Star Game festivities in Philadelphia. Those 2 players are Josiah Hartshorn, 19-year-old outfielder, first baseman. This is his first professional season, and he is freaking killing it. Crushed it at Low A, Myrtle Beach, did really well, and has somehow done even better with South Bend in High A, and Mason McGuire, who also got promoted to High A at South Bend. That is Mark McGuire's son. He is the 30th ranked prospect on the Cubs prospect list right now. Hartshorn is up to 3rd, and he just recently entered the top 100 and not just got in there. He is one of 5 Cubs players now on the top. Maybe it's 4. Either way, of the top 100, it's 4 or 5. And he is 79th on that list. So he really made a big leap into that. And I think if he continues on his trajectory, could really make a huge impact in that situation. Ethan Conrad, speaking of the top 100, I expect that he will get there at some point. And don't sleep on Owen Ayers, who is currently the 9th ranked prospect on most lists, but I would put him in the top 5 or 6. Maybe, I don't know. There's so many, like Kane Kepley's not getting enough love, in my opinion. Owen Ayers is not getting enough love. Like that, I'll do another episode talking about that and those guys because I think those are all guys who could possibly get traded at some point. Hopefully not all of them. Hopefully not even half of them. But I do think that some of those guys could bring back some impact talent that the team desperately needs in pitching. So, St. Louis, we're going to talk about some trade targets. These are my top trade targets from teams like we talked about of the Kansas City Royals, Los Angeles Angels, Boston Red Sox, Detroit Tigers, Colorado Rockies, San Francisco Giants, and New York Mets. I picked all of these guys because they are all over 5 games out from any possible playoff appearance. Now, having said that, the Tigers and the Red Sox, I think possibly may not be looking to move. They are now 6 games back. Both teams have spent heavily and invested heavily in making being challenging for playoff spots this year. And so I don't expect that they'll give up easily or quickly. But unfortunately, some of the guys that I really like are from those teams. Sonny Gray is obviously with Boston. So these are my top 3 starters that I would love to get. I don't see any way we could get Tarek Skubal, but I'm going to talk about them and guys that I think the Cubs should at least do their due diligence for. Sonny Gray with Boston, Jose Soriano with the Angels, and Tarek Skubal with the Tigers. 3 guys that I think are honorable mention. Peyton Toll with the Red Sox. That would take at least Matt Shaw and then some, probably, to be honest. He is only like 23 or 24 years old. He has pitched really well this year. He is not a huge ground ball guy, though, and so that gives me a little pause. But really a very talented pitcher. Casey Mize with the Tigers is another possibility. Again, not at high ground ball rate, but I like what he can do. And then Freddie Peralta, depending on what the Mets want, will make a huge, like that. That'll be a huge reason why the Cubs go after him or not. And I think that's obviously going to be the case with anybody. But if they want what the Tigers want, or even somewhat close to that for Tarek Skubal, what they want for Freddie Peralta, anybody should be out. Not just the Cubs, anybody. Freddie Peralta has underperformed this year, but that's why I like the guy and like the possibility, depending on what we would have to give up. He is an excellent, very talented pitcher who would be one of those guys that I think you should expect that he will regress back to what he typically is, or at least some kind of semblance of that, and not the guy that has been pitching so far for New York this year. There are 4 relief pitchers that I really like. 3 of them are left-handed. 1 of them is right-handed. Ryan Zephyrdjian from the Angels is the right-hander. He currently is 4-3 with a 4.12 ERA and 31K a strikeout percentage and a 43.4% ground ball rate. I love the ground ball rate. If they can get ground balls and induce those, I think that's huge in Chicago with our defense and especially our infield defense. Aroldis Chapman would be the dream relief pitcher to get. We really need somebody else to pair with Palencia when he's back and healthy, and as insurance in case that continues to be an issue. And Chapman is by far the best possible guy out there right now, in my opinion. He is 0-3 this year, but he has a 2.19 ERA, a 30% strikeout rate at the age of 38, and his ground ball rate is 44.8. And then A.J. Minter and Daniel Lynch, both left-handers. Minter with the Mets, Lynch with the Royals. Both could be had right now in the right situation. I firmly believe that. And I don't think it would take a ton to get either, especially Minter because of his age and everything else. But I think that those guys that we should be like right now or sometime over the All-Star break, can we get them? What would it take to get those guys? A.J. Minter, in 13 games so far this year, has a 0 ERA, a 21.7% strikeout rate, and a 40% ground ball rate. And he has a hell of a resume to back all that up. Daniel Lynch, left-handed pitcher, 2-2, 2.65 ERA, 21.4% strikeout rate, and a 53.1% ground ball rate. In a perfect world, really, Aroldis Chapman and Jose Soriano. I don't think that we'd have to give up a ton for either. We wouldn't have to give up any of our top 4 or 5 prospects, I don't think, to get any of those guys. But I could be wrong on that. Soriano is a bit younger. But I don't see them asking for a ton for him. And it would give us a huge lift in the rotation. And a guy who doesn't have a good defense behind him right now, with a high ground ball rate, would be even better than what he already is this year. So, those would be my preferences, guys, that we should go get. And we'll talk more about that. We got another month of this before it's over. And so we're going to talk about it ad nauseum. I apologize. It's going to be something that I will talk about a lot, folks. And then soon we'll get into guys that I think could be traded for them. And we could be adding some guys. So all kinds of possibilities. We got the St. Louis Cardinals preview. Just like last year, I believe, we will face the Cardinals over the 4th of July weekend, and it will hopefully be a great series for the Cubbies. The Cardinals come into this series. They're going to be 45-38 or 44-39. Right now, they're 44-38. 2.5 games behind us, and they are playing the Braves right now, who are when I got on here, were winning 2-1 in that game. The Braves were. The Cardinals have won their last 2 going into tonight and 4-6 in their last 10. They are 16th in runs per game at 4.48. The Cubs are 5th at 4.94. That will have gone up some. The average, they're probably not going to jump into 4th. That was like 5.12. ERA, and that was the Pittsburgh Pirates, by the way. Woo! That offense has turned around. ERA, the Cardinals have a 4.24, 18th in the majors, just ahead of the Cubs at 4.25, 19th in the majors. Their starting pitching is definitely better than the Cubs at 4.16, 13th. Cubs at 4.52. It continues to get better, though, at 24th in the majors. And the relief pitching is definitely worse than the Cubs, but not by a ton. 4.3, actually, it's a half run. 4.37, 20th in the league versus the Cubs, 3.87, 12th in the league. The probable starters on Saturday night, the Cubs don't have one yet. I'm guessing it's going to be a bullpen game of some sort. Jordan Wicks and or Javier Assad will probably be involved. Andre Palante against David Peterson on Friday night. 9-5 for Palante, 3.83 ERA. Has done solid this year. Probably their best pitcher relief pitcher or starting pitcher. I'm sorry. For the year so far against David Peterson, 4-6 with a 5.86 ERA, came down quite a bit, had a solid debut with the Cubs, has had some time in there with them in the lab, and hopefully we'll continue to see some improvement with all that. On Saturday, we got Kyle Leahy versus, we don't know. Leahy is 6-4 with a 4.09 ERA. On Sunday would be Matthew Liberatore, 4-5 with a 5.33 ERA against Shota Imanaga, 5-6 with a 4.30 ERA. Saturday night's game will be on Fox, so that'll be an interesting game. How it goes. We need 2 out of 3 here. That'll be huge. A sweep would be amazing, but I'm not going to try and get greedy here. I just want 2 out of 3, frankly. The Cardinals' offense is led by Jordan Walker, who has cooled off a bit. His OPS is now at 853. Alec Burleson with an 821 OPS. Ivan Herrera, a 795. And J.J. Weatherholt, rookie phenom for them, at 763. Bullpen is led by closer Jojo Romero at 3.89 ERA. George Soriano, right-hander. Gordon Graceffo, a right-hander as well. And Riley O'Brien, a right-hander. All with ERAs at 3.47 for Soriano, 3.38 for Graceffo, and O'Brien has a 3.82. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review and a comment all along the way on YouTube or any audio platform. Have a great day, and let's go Cubs.